doubt that anyone is joining anyway.
Hey, this is just for historical narrative, so let's broadcast now. Look at the flood of people coming in. Holy crap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Only 2 participants. Wow, we are really rocking it today. Oh, it's us. Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
It's
And
you
we're gonna
and me and you and me.
everyone's gonna miss the sign. It's like, you know, there's him.
Hey, there's another one joining.
Yeah, the third one. You say hi
Hello.
to Sandy, bud?
Hi.
What are you eating?
You want to thank her for filling out your mural? Do you remember when she did that?
Mm-hmm.
And that strawberry jelly is brand new. I just got it out of the cupboard, so it's warm. You like it?
No.
Okay. So this is remotely episode. You can hold me with this. Put up your hand like this. So this is remotely episode number 15. How about that? And this episode's all about Apathy Inc. And this is stemming from a conversation we had offline about doing workshops for university students. And we were posing the idea that they're completely overwhelmed.
What's
or maybe
Apathy Inc?
What is apathy? Do you know what apathy means?
No.
You don't know what apathy? Sandy, can
Now
you tell me Eldon what apathy?
I'm interested how you can teach your kid what that word actually means. It's so deep. Like, how can you teach someone that like that too?
All right, so let's figure out what apathy is because there may be some people that that also don't know what it is. So what does that say, Alden, right there? What is apathy? You can say it.
Apathy.
Yeah. What is that?
Lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern.
Yep. Which is something that you have with karate sometimes, right?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
So yeah, that's basically something where apathy is concerned, where you can basically be, depressed. You don't want to really get involved with anything. Maybe you have dementia. There is that possibility. So yeah, that's basically where apathy goes into things. So no. I just had dental work done on there, right, bud? There you go. So Sandy, why don't you explain why we're doing this episode and what the background of it was with your engagement with university students?
Yeah, so I just did a workshop. Well, it's a lecture / presentation / kind of workshop thing. And I think the whole group was involved with around 40 people. During the whole, I think 4-hour section or a little bit longer. In total, of course, we had break in between. But during the whole section, I would say like most of them, a large number of them had their camera off. They wouldn't even unmute to talk. We had even like writing things on Zoom chat. It was really lack of participation. And we even decided a whole mural so that people can, or the students can join us, have like different activities that they could join us to do. But the whole section, I realized that, I mean, not everyone, there were some really what we call the power students. They were quite engaged and motivated to do the activities with us. But a majority of them, they were, I have to say, I didn't even know if they were there. We even have like names. We got the students' names. So we put like name dots around the mural so then they have to move them around. But even that, like the dots were not moving. So yeah, so we had like, we thought 40 students, we had to break down the group into smaller groups to do some of the exercise. But when we do that, it ended up being, I don't know, like 2-3 sticky notes or 3-4 sticky notes in the end for, I don't know, 5 minutes of ideating or something. So
how many people was this all together?
Around 40. I think including us was, yeah, around 40, I say.
And it was a general sign up for everyone to kind of sign up if they were interested?
No, it is a program. It is like a proper university program. So it's one of those, I don't know if it's what exactly it's called, like kind of like those tech university where they teach more, like not just the academic kind of way of teaching.
Mhm.
teach a little bit more real life stuff. I would like how I would put it. Yeah. So I think the program was called something like business development or something like that. And we were invited to give 2 sections actually. That was the first one. And the first section was about virtual collaboration. And the next one was supposed to be about design sprints.
Do you think the
that's
lack of
what-
engagement wasn't necessarily because of the content, but more or less like their circumstances? Like they just didn't, it was something casual they were interested in versus the group that was totally engaged and was working on what you wanted them to do?
You mean like they were not interested in the topic in general?
Yeah, I mean, for the, how many, well, let me rephrase the question. What percentage of the people that you were in your workshop, were they engaged? Like out of the 40, 45 people, how many people would you say were really into what you were doing?
Like really, really into what we were doing was less than, I don't know, less than 20%, I would say.
So about 10 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
But out of those 10 people, I like probably like only 5 of them that they were participating in all the exercises.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
I mean, I can't tell for sure because it was all anonymously. So, but yeah, just seeing the mouse cursors and looking at the response and everything, it just seemed like there was not a whole big lack of.
So you couldn't tell who was. So you're saying that everyone joined the session anonymously, like there was no one. You couldn't identify people based on how busy they were, or there weren't any names associated with
I
it.
could have if I really wanted to check, because like I said, we actually put down the student's name and asked them to move their name dots around things. So I could check on it and see, okay, this and this dots were not moving, then I know that they were not doing anything. So I could have, but I didn't want to, like look into that and see, like call people out or stuff like that.
So do you have any kind of feedback mechanism at the end of the session?
We did a retrospective, but even so, like I felt like the retrospective was only the people who were interested or who were engaged that actually did that exercise.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the feedback was generally good in a way, because I mean they were participating, right? But actually, like our retrospective, one of them was like, I wish, the typical kind of retro. And during like the I wish section, we had a lot of comments saying like lack of, I wish like more people were participating, more people were engaged. So whoever was engaged, they felt that there was also a large group that were not engaged.
So what kind of lesson did you learn as a facilitator with this in terms of like, if you were to do this again next time, how would you do it differently?
I'm not sure actually. So I don't know. I feel like it's quite hard in a way because it's not like I really had engagement with the students before. So I kind of came in, it wasn't actually not just me. I had also Bear with me as a co-facilitator. But it was a little bit tough because we didn't even know the students. We were not even sure who they were, and we didn't know if they were going to be engaged or not. So I have tried, we have tried many different techniques that typically would work, like all this icebreaker stuff, energizers, fun games, and even like in the beginning of the session, we talked about the importance of like being engaged and turn on your camera and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't really have a really good solution or what could have done better.
I wonder what would have been interesting if you started kicking people out that weren't active. Like if you could actually say like, okay, like put in your if you are active in the session and still interested, I want you to write down your name, or not name, but like the animal that you are, the anonymous animal, and kind of do it that way. And then say, okay, for everyone that's paying attention here, we're going to eliminate everybody else. And just cull them, and then you just say, okay, now we have 8 people. Let's continue. And it's almost like a process of elimination to say when people are done with a certain section, they're done. And then you have like a more meaningful, a more intimate engagement, I guess, with the people that really do want to hear things out. So you're not necessarily trying to please the masses, but you're really honing in on the few people that do make you do make a connection with.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, actually, we could have like call people out and say like where you were and like calling names, you know.
Yeah.
But the whole time I was like, is that too mean in a way? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of reflect back on how I participate in university as well.
Yeah.
So I was also telling the story to Daniel. So I actually had like 2 degrees. The first one was economics, which was not completely by choice, and the other one was design. And when I compare the two, how I actually act between the two, like when I was doing my economic degree, I was kind of like doing the minimum that I could possibly do to pass or get that over with in a way, in a sense. And when I was doing the design degree, I actually put in like, I don't know, 2 times or 3 times the efforts that I actually needed to. So to me, that's kind of the reflection I had after the whole workshop. And I was thinking, is it just because that's the age of the people, like they were not like, knowing what they really want in their life in a way? That's, you know.
It could be. I mean, there could be a lot of different circumstances that correspond to how apathetic somebody is when it comes to like an online session or workshop, because you don't know the motivations of the individual and you don't know the circumstances. They may be just they're curious to know what it's about, and they want to get the first like 2-minute or 5-minute impression of what it is, and then make a value judgment as to whether or not they want to spend time on it. Because your free time is their free time is competing with what you're doing, as well as with like gaming or eating or sleeping or studying or anything else that they have in their backyard that they've got to deal with. So it makes sense that, especially on the university level, you have a minimal engagement by a core group of people. But in a way, that's a good thing, because now you really have some people that you can connect with and see if you can either help them or you can have a conversation about their perspective about what you're doing. So I personally think that going for numbers on the university level is a false narrative. I think it's better to, maybe cast a wide net, and then based on what you draw in, go, okay, to have gates every 20 minutes, say like, who's still here? Who's still paying attention? And it would be funny if Zoom had a feature where it's like, you just basically, because it keeps track of the connections. It keeps track of idle as well as like who's connecting. So you have a webinar, and if people in the call have been inactive, you could call them, or they're just there for the recording and they have it on, that you could do it that way. But I don't know. If engagement is like your end game with these sorts of engagements, then maybe that's it's better if you keep it small.
Yeah, so it becomes really hard to plan, because originally we planned it for 40 people, and then that's how we make the structure, the workshop or the activities anyway, so that we can break it down into smaller groups if needed to, and things like that. But when in the end, there was less than 10 people who were really doing things, and when we break the 10 people up into like 4 different groups, it doesn't make sense anymore. But then at the same time, I can't just say, okay, now don't break it up, because what if actually all of them suddenly wanted to join and participate? Then it becomes a mess.
I almost feel like two things could come into play that would really help. One is use the scarcity model, where you have a limited amount of seats that people can sign up. And in order to sign up, they have to basically submit something that corresponds to their interest, so that they're actually putting in some effort. Whereas the casual person can just find the recording later. But what you actually create is a working session with a group of people that have a vested interest in what's going on. That way you can still broadcast to a lot of people who just want to casually observe or see what's going on, versus people that are actively involved and want to get involved with what you're talking about. So it becomes a more meaningful conversation.
So the sign up numbers or the sign ups we don't really have control with is like whoever sign up for that program, they will be joining. But I guess it makes sense that if we like have like kind of like a P section or something, or just kind of P homework that ask them to submit something or do something beforehand and see if they would submit that.
Yeah, because you're kind of begging, because what would happen if all 45 people decided they wanted to get involved? I mean, if it's a one-to-many presentation, you're just conveying information, then I can understand why people just don't want to show up and sit in front of their computer and watch it. They want to do other stuff with their time.
Right. And I don't know if it's just a topic either, because they don't actually have the choice of what topics we talk about, right? It's done by us giving them the talk, or by the people who designed the program in a way. So although like those people or the students sign up for the whole whatever program that is, there must be something that they are more interested at versus the other. They could have thought like virtual collaboration is just a waste of time. I don't know.
Who arranged this event? Was this something that your employer did, or was it something you volunteered for at the university? What was the?
It's the professor from the university. So yeah, he just approached us. Originally was more just for design sprints, because I don't know, I really appreciate him, because he really take the extra effort to bring something relevant in today's world to the students and not just talking about theory and stuff like that. So he was seeking out things like this, like design sprints, and that's where we got approached.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just wondering, now I'm thinking of engagement models, because it's one of those things where it may be just the audience that you were dealing with that engaged in that way, or if it's just the model just isn't as appealing. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there a different way of, and I think I've been hinting at it throughout this entire conversation, is like, okay, you have the one mode where you basically have a sign up. We did it, I think a year ago, we were at the University of Texas. We were in Dallas. We were flirting with the idea of doing a design sprint with the UX team, and that never crystallized because they couldn't find a room. They couldn't find a location on campus. And there were over 100 to 200 people at the time that were interested in it, because people knew about design sprints back then. I mean, it was like 2 years ago, I think, before I started DDS. And there was real interest in kind of seeing what this is about, because at the time it was white hot. Everyone was looking at this as like a way of doing design differently, but they just couldn't get the room. And that was the only reason why it stopped. But I imagine, based on what the signups were, we were going to get I anticipated about maybe a third to a sixth of what people's sign up would actually show. And if we offer pizza, then you said that's some incentive, but then you just have the people that would just want to eat pizza and hang out, because you're going to have that, that they'll just want, free
then
food.
You're gonna
I'm going.
offer sushi.
Yeah, sushi too. But they just wanted to go there just to get a free meal, and they really didn't care what I was doing. They'd be like, whatever. And they're just like, where's the pepperoni? It's pretty much, that was their line of thinking. It's like, they could be like showing how to shave dogs properly, and it wouldn't matter. They just wanted the food because they were starving and it was free. So yeah. Anything else to talk about with university students?
No, I guess like I don't know how to form the next section. So so the next section is the actual design sprint section. So we kind of wanted to do the virtual collaboration first, because we now have to move everything that we was going to do virtually. So we want to get them on board of the virtual collaboration. And then our plan was next time, next section, we were going to actually run them through, like not just talking about design sprints, actually get them go through some of the exercise. But now I don't know exactly how is the best way to plan it, because I don't know how many people were actually actively doing the exercise together.
I think what's missing is the conversation that's supposed to happen before you actually do the exercise. I think there needs to be a dialogue that happens with some interested persons around what they want to get out of the session and what their incentive is and what kind of outcomes they want. I approach that with my own practice, but that would be my instinct, is to have a conversation first. Have an open conversation about what's that?
But when you, I don't know, because I can't even talk. Well, it's not like I can't, absolutely cannot. But to me, it was kind of like, oh, they arrange everything, and then we just come in to kind of give like almost like a talk thing. We decided to make it more active. So originally it was more just like a presentation thing, but we were like, okay, 3-4 hours, it's better to have some activity so they can actually be more hands-on.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you could have that in your back pocket. I'm suggesting that even if it's a small activity, you have a conversation initially about, like, about making process more efficient, and then talking about a process that's horribly inefficient and thinking about ways of how you would make it, like, speed it up or try different things. And you may hit a wall of, like, just people staring at you, not knowing what to say unless they're called on. But it at least starts the dialogue around it, and then that warms people up to the possibility of kind of looking at this from a activity perspective on how to make more efficient process. Then you can take different things from the design sprint process and kind of blend that into the conversation as a starting point. But the first 15-20 minutes can be about exchanging points of view, getting some perspective, relating to one another as human beings. And once you do that and kind of have that dialogue, you'll start to understand who's engaging in the conversation versus people that are just kind of hanging out.
but what if they wouldn't even unmute themselves to talk?
That's okay. Then they're just not, that's their choice. I mean, some part of it is recognizing who's basically engaging in the conversation and who wants to speak. You may have introverts that don't speak and don't basically say much, but that's okay. But I think you can also temper that with, like, quick polls, or just basically put in the chat if you have a particular like issue or problem or issue that you have, or something that you think should be looked at to be optimized. And then you might get that engagement, but it's passive, meaning that's not somebody just having like somebody like you call upon them to give them an answer. You can see based on the reaction or the feedback who's actually paying attention.
Yeah, so I also did that in the last section. So one of the exercise was like a kind of like a fun thing that I do some hand signals and ask them to guess what it means, and ask them to put the answer in the chat. But even then, like, I only got maybe 3 or 4 answers out of the 40 people. So, yeah.
Yeah, then you take that core group of people and talk to them, I think. I mean, because that, if nothing else, that's the audience and that's the conversation you need to have. If you try to engage all 40 people, it just doesn't work, especially on the university level.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just have to. It's true. Like, actually, you don't need to. Who said that? I think it was. I'm not sure if it was Crystal. Like someone said that, like, for any of the talks or presentation, you don't need to impact everyone. If just one person that you impact on, you already is a success. It was already.
I think that's Gary Vee that you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, if you can motivate one person to basically go in a certain direction, then you feel like he was successful. So, like in this conversation, the only thing I have to convince is you to basically, no, I'm kidding. I mean, if you're talking about like a larger audience, if there's one person that kind of decides to try something different, then that's a step in the right direction. You won't be able to tell. You may present design sprints to the world as like a great process, but most people have other priorities, and there's just going to be like 1 or 2 people that decide to kind of take it further.
Yeah, and I guess also design sprint is not a thing for every person anyway.
Can't disturb me, though.
I'm not going to.
Okay, but you gotta bring your chair over here, okay?
Okay. Actually, I'll just sit right here.
You would think you'll be able. That's a little tall for you, isn't it?
A little bit, but I think I
I can make room for you.
Is he going to do the podcast with us together?
I think he's gonna hang out. I'll clear all the stuff I have to do today and put it over here so that he has room.
Let's ask him what he
Yeah,
thinks
Alden?
about design sprints.
Yeah, you can join us on the podcast if you want.
Sure, I'll go.
What do you think of design sprints?
Pretty cool.
He says it's pretty cool.
Even though I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is? Let's say.
You still don't know what it is.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think I've ever told him.
You haven't.
Yeah.
Daddy.
Do you know what your dad does?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he knows. I don't think I've ever described it to him.
You
So-
never did.
Alden? So design sprints are where you take 5 days to go from a huge idea to a testable prototype.
Do you know what
I
a
don't know what a
prototype is?
prototype.
He
Exactly.
doesn't know what a prototype is. A prototype is like something that's fake. So it's kind of like, this is a prototype.
I don't know what something is fake is.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk with him later about it.
But
Let's
it's
talk
interesting
about,
because
go ahead.
no, I think it's very interesting how we can describe these kind of things to someone who don't even have who doesn't even have the language to understand.
Yeah, true. But I know that when Alden doesn't care about something, he repeats everything I say. So I know that he's right now his only thing is basically working in algo and making marble races. Algo making marble races. Yeah. So let's talk about being overwhelmed. That's the part 2 of this. Having too much on your plate, having too much to kind of coming up where you can't feel like you get ahead or get a break. What are you currently doing to combat overwhelm? Like when you have so much to do and you're not sure what to do with it.
I think it's not, it's a little bit tricky. I think my problem being overwhelmed is not that I have a problem to say no, but my problem is I see all of them are really great opportunities for me, and they all suddenly come together to me, and I really have a hard time to pick and choose which one. So it's not choosing really like what is important or what is not in a sense. It's just because I see a lot of great opportunities and suddenly they all come at the same time. So that is very hard for me to take.
So how do you decide between 1 versus 4 of them? Out of the 4 options you have, how do you know which one to choose?
Yeah, I guess I haven't really done a good job. That's why I have been overwhelmed for the last time or the last few weeks or the next 2. But I guess my way of kind of solving this issue is I cut out anything else that is unnecessary to do at this moment to focus on executing those opportunities. So yeah, so that's why I've been very, very not active in social media in the past weeks and not even answering all my messages, not even WhatsApp and things like that.
Do you ever like take an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of paper and write down all of your different options? Alden, you can't sit here. Alden can't sit here if you do this.
Oh yeah, I do that. So that's how I actually pick my current job. So when I was moving to a new job, I had a few opportunities, all different choices, and I was quite nerdy, I felt. I actually built like a kind of matrix. So I put down all the choosing criteria, what is important to me, like if I need to relocate or if I need to, well, obviously like income is also one thing, and how I see the future of this company and all that stuff. And then I put a score, and then I also like the score of how important this criteria is for me. And then I put a score of how this job weighted in terms of this category. And then I do a little calculation and find out the total. And that's how I pick my current job. So I do that for some things like this, yeah.
So do you find that doing that is basically trying to figure out if your gut instinct is correct?
Yeah, it is. But the funniest thing is when that score doesn't match my gut feeling, then I sometimes struggle. I would be like, okay, did I do something wrong? Like, should I give a higher score on that?
Yeah, I think that's natural. People want to kind of figure out if their head and their heart is in the same place. And so when those two are in conflict, then you reassess exactly how you're looking at the problem, or you're looking at the particular situation. Especially if you have multiple job offers, and you're trying to figure out which one is the best. There's the attitude that you just have to pick one and go with it, because you're not going to know what the other two are going to be like, even if you take a long time to evaluate it. There may be where time is the greatest factor, where you just let things kind of simmer, and the feeling that you had the day before will manifest into rationale the next day. You just don't know. It's different for everybody. When it comes to overwhelm with social media, it's natural because of the way that social media kind of gives you that dopamine effect of kind of constantly always being on your phone, or always being like in front of something, where there's a reward mechanism for like answering messages or doing certain things. It can be addictive. But when it comes to making choices that have positive outcomes, but you have to sacrifice one or the other, I mean, experience helps. I know, because you have a history of doing things, you kind of know where if you make one choice, you're just going to have the other things languish, like doing the dash for 5 days straight. All the social media, the build up that I've done, all the repetition, everything else, even stuff that I need to get done offline has been basically like sitting by, but I have to take care of it today because the deadlines are coming up. But it was purposeful because I knew what I wanted to do. So in a way, I guess I'm saying your gut instinct actually has a stronger voice when you get older than it is when you're younger. Younger, you're wondering what the wrong decision is. And for me, I would constantly be in that mode. But then I started to figure out that it was just, okay, what makes sense at the time? And you just got to run with it. And half the time you get it right, half the time you get it wrong, but you're not going to die because you make a wrong choice. You're just going to be, it's just going to be the choice.
For our audience, what is dash?
What do you mean?
Nobody knows what dash is.
Oh, I haven't even mentioned the dash yet. Oh, hey, that's Mardea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's there.
On YouTube?
Yeah. She says, I think it is to take the one that is 100% beneficial or valuable at that moment. Yeah. It's like, so that's taking the intrinsic motivation of one. So sometimes if you're speaking with Jobs dashboard, she thinks dash is dashboard. Yeah. Sometimes it's like the job can pay a lot of money, but you're gonna be miserable, or a job that doesn't pay a lot, but you're going to be much happier. What actually matters to you.
Well, the other thing I do is also so when I do that kind of matrix, then I see maybe my gut feeling is that I want to actually take option A, but then the matrix tells me that I should take option B. Then the next step I would do is also I will see if there's anything that I can change from option A to actually to match the criteria, then I can still do that, So I'll take job as an example. So let's say the pay was a little bit less, that's why it got the less score, and then the matrix shows that I should choose option B in a way. Then I would actually see if I can possibly go to option A and ask the employer to raise that offer a little bit, and that way I can also change the result that way. So that's something that I also do. So for like this kind of opportunities that I'm talking about, I want to take them all. So for example, one of them is like I should I wanted to take the opportunity to participate in the Mural Imagine. So it takes me time to actually do that presentation, organize the story, and record the section. So I was quite overwhelmed with all the stuff that I already have, but I couldn't let go of that opportunity in a way. So then one thing that I did was I asked if I could do it a week later. Like, is that okay still to submit the recording a week later? And they said yes. So now I was able to take on that opportunity as well.
So do you record yourself for Imagine, or do they doing it live?
They they said I could record it myself, or you can do their live recording, which essentially is just they provide you a link, a Zoom link. You can join there. Nobody's going to be there, only you, and you record a presentation.
And when is that coming up? Is that coming up next week or in 2 weeks?
Oh, I think they already started actually. So I asked to get the recording done next week. So that's
and John and the guy from Mural has been asking me, okay, what are you going to do? And I sent him a demo early in the week, and he's like, okay, well, can you refine it a bit? And I've been dormant for 2 days. I'm thinking, oh man, I'm not doing this guy any favors. He's probably waiting for me to like, can you get me something? Because I got to put you out, because they have me on the website, and it's like somebody who's basically submitting something, and I'm like, okay, do I do the mastery program? Or I do the dash, and the dash is getting to the point where it could be presentable, but it just needs to get out there. I'm crossing to the point of analysis paralysis, and I only have one last section to do, and then it's done. So I think that's probably one I'm going to lead with.
Yeah, they have your name on there saying that you were going to do a workshop.
Yeah. Oh man. I just have to tell them, it's like, okay, what date? Because I don't think they set a date yet. If I have a date, then I know what to do. Can't be next Wednesday because I'm doing more of this. But yeah. Yep. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Mardea, since you're the only one it's dashboard, I just made it up. No. So Mardea, there's a thing I've been working on that combines design sprints and prototyping. And it now clocks in at 4 hours. You can do it in 1/2 day, or you can do it over 4 days. But it takes the best of both worlds and kind of combines them into one process. So at the end, you have a bunch of micro experiments that last 24 hours to test an idea in the market. So that's what it is.
See, that would be, if you have that done tomorrow, I can take that and present it to the university next week.
All right, if you can do that, I will. And just basically have them like, do you want them just to react to it, or just basically to work through it?
To work through it. I have 4 hours to deal with the students. So whatever you can give me, I think that is something much more valuable. That's actually not exactly what I proposed to them. I thought, so what I said to them was that maybe instead of running through just the design sprint, I could also do a little bit prototyping together with them. Because I think for the students, perhaps they don't even have an idea what they were going to build. So telling them or teaching them design sprints to me was a little bit too early in a way. So I thought actually teaching them prototype would be much more valuable. So then that way they have all these ideas, crazy ideas, like university student. I was like that too. I have all these crazy ideas. But then instead of already spending the time trying to figure out what to build, what about trying to see if there's a market value from it first?
So let's do it this way. Let me finish up the dash today. I have to get this stuff out the door, and I have to make sure that this guy basically gets his work done by the end of the day. But in between those two dependencies, then I'll basically get that to you, and then you can basically put it in front of them and see what they think. Mardea says, what about doing an LDJ? So that is a possibility too. You can use your templates and basically go that route. But let me get it done, and then you can see you could see if it's something that could be ready for next week for the university students. Then I can go back to Imagine and say like, hey, here's this brand new shiny thing I can present on, and we can actually walk through the process and see what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, let's do
We'll
that.
end it with that.
Sure.
Give you some extra time to go.
Yeah.
So we covered. What's that?
Oh, I said I gotta end a little bit early today because I'm going to join Team Simon Sinek on a workshop called Jumpstart Your Why. So that's going to be exciting.
Got it. So yeah, I'll give you some extra time to go. So we covered university apathy, and bye Mardea. See you later. We covered overwhelm, and then we covered the dash. So we had a chock full of good episode, but and then then next week it'll be like a new kind of promo with pink poop emojis. But this is kind of like a a very laid back kind of reserved one that we just did just for Mardea.
Yes.
That's all it
we
is.
said that we only focus on the people who are really engaged.
Yeah, Mardea's been with us ever from a single time. So yeah, this is going to be every single time. It's just going to be Mardea's going to be our one audience member that we're going to ask questions to and see if it makes sense to her, and then it'll be perfect.
Yes. Great.
Okay, cool. All right, Sandy, I know you got to go. Thanks for coming by, and I hope whatever is overwhelming you gets worked out over time. And then we'll look forward to next Thursday then. And then you'll hear from me about the Dash tonight or tomorrow morning so that you can basically propose it to the students and see what they think.
Great. Awesome. Sounds good.
Okay. Bye, Sandy.
Right.
Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Bye, everybody that's
Bye,
watching
everyone.
the recording. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later. You want to say bye?
Bye, guys.
All right.
Whoever you are.
Wherever you are.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. See you later. Bye. Yeah.
No, wait.
Whoa.